New stadium plans revealed and Chelsea back in for Josko Gvardiol. Hello there guys, what is going on? Daniel Childs back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're doing well. We are nearly at the weekend, but that means we are nearly at the Leeds game at Stamford Bridge. Not entirely sure I'm excited and enthused about being at that game, but we will see. And I'm doing my preview of the game tomorrow, so make sure you've got that notifications bell turned on so you don't miss any of the uploads on the channel. But some new stuff to get into today in terms of Stamford Bridge, the future of Stamford Bridge and Chelsea's potential new stadium plans. I think that's a really big thing to get into today, and also transfer stuff with Gvardiol. If you are new around here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure, as I've already said, to hit the notification bell. If you are enjoying the content, hit that like button because it really does help the channel out. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. Son of Chelsea is a part of the 90 Min podcast network. But this story came out from Matt Law, who else really, from the Telegraph. Stamford Bridge special, Chelsea's £1.5 billion stadium decision. Link in the description box below. Go and read the full piece. It really does break down the different elements to this, but just going through kind of some of the key details regarding it. Telegraph Sport understands that knocking down Stamford Bridge and building a new stadium on the existing site is currently emerging as the most likely option, although a final decision is yet to be taken. Chelsea board member Jonathan Goldstein, who is in charge of the project with Janet Mary Smith, the executive vice president of planning and development for the LA Dodgers, is holding talks with the Chelsea pitch owners and waiting to find out whether a $50 million bid to buy a plot of land next to Stamford Bridge has been successful. But Chelsea supporters are going to be warned that there is no problem-free solution, whichever of the three proposals the new owners choose to start work on, which is building a new stadium on the existing site, redeveloping Stamford Bridge, or relocating. Bowley and Clearlake have reassured the Chelsea pitch owners that they would only seriously consider a move away with their backing, which means that knocking down Stamford Bridge and building a new stadium, as previous owner Roman Abramovich had planned to do, currently represents the most realistic option. Chair of the CPO, Chris Isaac, said the CPO is having positive talks with the club about redevelopment. We understand this is a complicated project which needs careful consideration, but we share a common aim, which is to have the best stadium in London. I don't want to say I told you so, but I did in my predictions for this year for Chelsea. You can go back and find it. One of the last ones I did was hearing something about the new stadium, because I just felt in the first full year of the new ownership, they would want to have something out regarding it. This is not an official announcement, but this is pretty good information regarding Chelsea and the future of Stamford Bridge. It is a complex idea, it is a complex thing, but I think it's going to be one of the key things of this ownership to get completed, which the previous ownership couldn't get over the line for various reasons. And it's not an easy sell, and it's not something that can happen overnight. In the piece, it mentions 2030 as the potential time when Chelsea could be in a new stadium, but that feels still ambitious to me in terms of the stages we have to get to. You know, I think that a lot of people worried about if Chelsea are to relocate or to redevelop Stamford Bridge, which kind of felt like the most realistic option actually quite recently, is where do Chelsea go? We saw Tottenham had to move into Wembley for a couple of seasons. I think it was 2 seasons in the end, before their new ground was available. So it's a difficult one. And I think that the Chelsea pitch owners, I've got a Chelsea pitch owner share myself. I know a lot of people do it. It means a lot to Chelsea supporters. And I think that was something that turned a little bit bitter in the previous ownership. And I think that this new ownership with the fan board that was created yesterday, you hope one of the issues on that fan board will be things like this, because it does matter a lot, the future of Stamford Bridge. And I have seen people who I respect say, you know, is there a point in even making a new stadium? Is that important? Could you invest on making Stamford Bridge a lot better? My very personal opinion on this, and I'm saying this selfishly because I'm a season ticket holder in the East Stand Upper, and I've got to say the concourse up there has been ridiculously small for too long. It's for a club of Chelsea size, and it's, you know, I'm not blaming, you know, the current owners, and it was built a long time ago, and the way the stand in particular is built could not be built now in terms of how steep it is. You know, they couldn't build that again. And I just don't think it helps the fan experience. I was in there before the Southampton game, and me and my dad were sort of having a conversation, which we regularly do, and we do rarely go into the concourse when it's a little bit more quiet, because it is like a sauna in there, even in the middle of winter, you know, because that concourse, you know, it's supposed to service a lot of people in that East Stand Upper section. So I think, just for me personally, improving things like that would improve the match day experience a lot more. As I say, that's a very personal opinion. If you sit in different areas of the ground, like say the West Stand concourse, the West Stand lower concourse, I know is very spacious and a lot more modern. I think the Matthew Harding lower is obviously a lot better as well. So I know that in other areas of the ground, the experience is going to be a little bit different, but that's just my opinion. But I know that I just feel that this is going to be a big thing for this new ownership to overcome. And it was part of the proposals this time last year when we had the takeover, or we had the announcement from Roman Abramovich that he wanted to sell the club. I'm just going to touch on that very briefly because I was lucky enough to be asked by my good friend Adam Newson to contribute to a piece he did today for Football.London. I definitely suggest you go and read. Another good guy, Ollie Glanville, gave his quotes. I was just giving my quotes, sort of reflecting on the year that has been since Roman announced he was going to sell. Mental to think it is 12 months ago and everything that's happened and changed at Chelsea since then. It has been a roller coaster ride, it really has. But the one thing I want to stress, and I did stress in my quotes, is that no matter our frustrations about what's going on the pitch currently, about the head coach, about the players, having a club is a very important thing. And given the fact that it was almost 12 months ago, I think it's next week it will be the 12-month sort of date since we had the sanctions, which, for a brief, even if it was a brief period, the feeling or the idea, the concept of Chelsea going extinct, to have a club is still a very lucky thing we do, compared to some of the other horror stories we've seen in football. So just wanted to note that. The second story today regards Josko Gvardiol, a player that Chelsea have been linked with for a long time now. It feels like a very long time. But at the Times, Tom Roddy reporting that Chelsea have renewed their interest in the defender. The centre-back has been on Chelsea's radar since the age of 17 and signed a new deal with Leipzig in December, which runs until 2027. And it is understood to include a release clause that comes into effect from 2024. Gvardiol scored last week against Manchester City, one of the clubs who have shown interest in signing the young talent. Tottenham are apparently keen on Gvardiol, but Chelsea have been leading the pursuit of the defender, who told the Times last month that his dream is to play in the Premier League. I felt that once we bought Benoit Badiashile, maybe the Gvardiol interest would kind of dwindle a little bit. But Badiashile already for me looks like a very shrewd addition. It really does for the long term. And when you look at some of the other younger defenders we've got currently in the squad, with Badiashile, Wesley Fofana and Trevor Chalobah, Fofana long-term contract signed him last year. Trevor Chalobah contract extension earlier this season. We've got Levi Colwill to come back. That is the player. It's funny how the issues kind of stayed the same, because this time last year, probably a little bit less than that, when the Gvardiol links cropped up the first time, it was about, a left-sided defender, what's going to happen to Levi Colwill. And you can make the argument, with Badiashile, what's going to happen with Levi Colwill. Matt Law was reporting recently that Levi Colwill is going to be offered a new contract, which is a sign of their intention to keep him. And I think the sign of the intention to keep Levi Colwill was in not selling him to Brighton last year and really insisting on keeping him and just making that a loan to Brighton. But I feel that it's going to be curious to see how this plays out in terms of if Chelsea are still looking to sign central defenders. What does it mean in terms of the defenders we currently have, when you've still got Thiago Silva on for another season, but then also with the likes of Cesar Azpilicueta and mainly Kalidou Koulibaly? Is Koulibaly going to be here more than one season? Because we heard rumours in January of his potential exit in the summer. It hasn't gone particularly well for him. But, if Chelsea were to progress a little bit further in the Champions League, you suspect he's going to play a little bit more, because Badiashile is not in that squad. And with Silva being injured, Koulibaly may get more minutes and may have a chance to impress and sort of change the perception of him. But we will see on this. Let me know your thoughts on Gvardiol, because it would cost a lot of money, and given maybe other areas of the squad, particularly with no Champions League football, Chelsea are unlikely to have now next season unless we win the Champions League, which in itself is very unlikely. Let me know your thoughts on Gvardiol. Do you think it's a player Chelsea should still be going after in the summer transfer window? Final thing just to touch on here is Andre Santos. We did speak about him recently regarding a move to Vasco, back to his boyhood club. Chelsea confirmed it today. He now has the opportunity to develop further at that level. That's what the statement on Chelsea's website said earlier today. Since joining Chelsea, Santos has starred in a triumph on the international stage. Brazil won the South American Under-20 Championship, and he scored in the final against Uruguay. As captain of the side, Santos was the tournament's joint top scorer with 6 goals. So one to look out for, Andre Santos, if you can, to see how he develops over the next few months and whether he will be involved this upcoming pre-season for Chelsea. I would suspect he would be. and to see if he does anything more on the international stage, because an exciting prospect, absolutely. But those are my thoughts on today's news regarding Chelsea. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, listening on the podcast. Thank you so much as well. Make sure to give it a positive rating review. It really does help out. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe button, notification bell, like button, all of that good stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at SonOfChelsea. You can also follow me on TikTok at SonOfChelsea too. And I will see you again very soon. All the best.